We're going to talk about how to reprogram the inner critic. Actually, reprogram this inner voice, and we're going to do this by updating some old emotional beliefs. If your inner critic keeps repeating the same thoughts, if it feels like you're stuck in the same patterns, if that voice keeps telling you that you're not enough, the critic isn't the real problem. The beliefs underneath it are. Welcome back to Creative Metaphysics. Today we're going deeper than the voice itself, that inner critic. We're going to the source. Your inner critic can only repeat what you once believed about yourself. You may not believe it now. You may have grown past it. You may have improved, become a better version of yourself, moved on. But that inner critic doesn't see that. That inner critic was built on something that you believed in the past. And if you change those beliefs, the voice changes with them. You see, the inner critic is built on emotional memory. The inner critic repeats things like, I'm not good enough, and people will judge me, and I shouldn't stand out. I need to be perfect. But those aren't facts, those are emotional memories. They come from those moments where you felt fear, when you felt shame, or you felt rejection or embarrassment. These are things that everybody feels at some point or another. We can suppress those memories, but they're still there, and the effects of them are still there. There was a time when I kept hearing the same thought. This isn't good enough. I'm working on something, but it's just not quite there yet. And I would hear that over and over and over again. And at first, I treated it like it was the truth, like it meant something about me. But when I actually stopped and looked at it, I realized something, that that thought didn't come from what I was doing now in this moment. It came from how I felt in the past. And that changed everything for me. Ask yourself, what thoughts keep repeating for you? And where did they actually come from? Because if they came from the past, they're not facts. Over time, emotional memories turn into rules. Rules like, don't post unless it's perfect. In terms of creating content, producing content, becoming a creator, you hear that voice say, don't post it unless it's perfect. Don't speak unless you're sure. Don't create unless you know it's going to work. Don't be seen unless it feels safe. And these rules feel real, but they're not logical. They don't make sense. They're emotional. There was a point where I followed those rules without even thinking about it. I wouldn't post unless everything felt perfect. Side note, this leads to greater disappointment in the future. I wouldn't move unless I felt completely ready. And because of that, I barely moved at all. And I thought I was being careful, but in reality, I was staying stuck. Look at your own behavior. What rules are you following right now? What do you tell yourself that you have to do before you can act? And are those rules helping you move forward, or are they keeping you in place? Here's a secret. You change beliefs through new experience. You don't change old beliefs just by thinking differently. That doesn't work. You change them through new experiences, by acting even when you feel doubt, posting something even when it's not perfect, speaking even when you feel unsure. Essentially, what you're doing is you're creating new evidence. I remember posting something I wasn't fully confident in. It wasn't perfect. It didn't feel complete, but I did it anyway. And guess what? Nothing bad happened. There was no rejection. There was no collapse. There was no failure. And that moment created new evidence for me. It showed me that old belief wasn't true. Ask yourself, what would happen if you acted once against the belief that's been holding you back? Not 10 times, just once. And if you're realizing right now that these patterns are deeper than you thought, this is exactly why I created the Creator's First Shift. It walks you through the hidden beliefs behind your inner critic and where those beliefs came from and how to actually reframe them step by step. It's not just something you read, it's something you work through. The link is in the description. Costs about the same as a cup of coffee, but the shift it creates in how you think and how you act, that's where the real change starts. You see, we have to update the source. Those beliefs didn't come from nowhere. They came from earlier versions of you, moments where you didn't have the same awareness that you have now. And in the future, it's going to repeat again. It's a cycle. There's going to be moments where you have a greater awareness than you have right now. That's the thing. You have to get the tools that you can use over and over again. You wouldn't buy a hammer that you use one time and throw away. You wouldn't buy a screwdriver that you use on one screw and throw away. You buy tools that you can use over and over again. So in the future, when you need a hammer, you can say, "Oh, I have a hammer. Let me go grab the hammer and use it again." So just think of tools in a toolbox. Make sure you get the right tools for the right job. So back to these beliefs, in order to change them, you've got to go back and update them. Ask yourself, when did I first feel this? When did I first believe this about myself? Because that's where the belief started. And once you see the old belief, you have to replace it. The old belief might be something like, people will judge me. The new belief would be something like, some might, but I can handle it. Notice we didn't fight against it. Yeah, some people might judge us, but I can handle it. An old belief might be something like, I'm not enough. The new belief would be, I'm enough when I'm real. An old belief might be something like, I need to be perfect. The new belief would be something like, I just need to show up. This is how the voice changes. We reframe things. And then once we reframe it, we act on the new belief. This part matters most. You don't just say the new belief, you act on it because action proves it. Ask yourself, what is the one action I can take right now that matches who I am becoming? And then take it. That's how the pattern breaks. Remember this, your inner critic is built on old beliefs, and those beliefs can change. When you update them, the voice changes. When the voice changes, your behavior changes. And when your behavior changes, your results change. You're not stuck. You're just working with old information. Update the belief, take the action, and everything starts to move. And that's the shift.